The best weapon talents to use and why. That's exactly what this video is going to be about. This is a continuation on my best talents to use series. We have gone over the best backpack talents, the best chest piece talents, and now we're going to jump into the weapon talents. I'm doing all this before I start to show you all of the best combinations, because we have to go through each of these categories before we put all of the pieces together. So what I'm going to do in today's video is I'm going to take the fan-favorited Lexington, and we're going to go through all of the weapon talents, which ones to use, which ones to stay away, and why. So I hope this answers all of your questions. If you have any comments, anything like that to add down below, let me know. But without further ado, let's jump into the video. What's going on, YouTube? Kamikazevondoom here with another Division 2 video. So sit back, relax, grab that popcorn, don't forget to hit that like, subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know what you think in the comment section below. And finally, shout out where you're from. It's cool to see where everyone is from, but that's right. The best weapon talents to use and why. So, to do this, first off, you need to go to your tinkering station and make sure you actually have your talents added to the library. The only way to add these talents to your weapons is to actually have them in your library. So make sure that you have these completely filled out and complete. That way you can do everything that I'm about to show you. Now, our test subject for today is going to be the Lexington. So what makes the Lexington so special? And yes, you will all have access to this in about 10 days or so with the Stretch Goals event. But what makes the Lexington so special is that it came God rolled with damage to targets out of cover, and you're able to change the talent to whatever it is you want. You can truly make this weapon work with any build that you want. It's amazing. And the Lexington, what makes it so special is it doesn't come with a named attribute. It doesn't come with a named talent. It comes with a boosted core stat, being total damage. So not only does it look the part, but it hits harder than most ARs in the game. So this is going to be our example today, right? And yes, this will be available during the Stretch Goals event in 10 days. Is it 10 days? Yeah, something like that. Anyways, I have different talents to try out on this weapon, and we are going to try it out on a all-red glass cannon vigilance build just here at the base. That way I can show you different numbers and explain why I would recommend some talents more than others. So the first one, right off the bat, is one of the hardest hitting talents in the game, Streamline. So Streamline was actually introduced recently in the Division 2. And what this does is it increases your weapon damage by not using any skills. So as long as your skills are not on cooldown or anything like that, you're good to go. You get all the extra weapon damage. And it's at 42%, which is even crazier. I have a 15-round magazine on there. Yeesh. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have all accuracy, there's optimal range, weapon handling. I mean, nothing to increase my actual damage numbers, right? And then we're going to go over and test these out. That way I can show you which ones to use and why. But right off the bat, Streamline is one of the best talents in the game. You can run around with Striker, Heartbreaker, what have you, and just go to town. It's really amazing. Now, yes, it does deactivate the second you use or have a skill on cooldown, but overall, it is one of the hardest hitting weapon talents in the game. Compared, to most of the other talents. So here we will be at 5 meters for the targeting range in Vulnerable Elite, and this will be our test subject. So just to the chest, 800k. Did you see that for that crit? Oh, come on. Hit the crit again. Wow. There we go. So 888k. Okay. And that's just with the Streamline talent just right there activated. So when we go back to our talents on this weapon, we go to the item, go to the tinkering, and now we can change it to whatever it is we want. So let's start comparing this to other talents, okay? So Streamline, just remember, Streamline is 42% weapon damage. Now, if you want to compare that to Breadbasket, okay? So Breadbasket, what does this do? It lands body shots and it gives you headshot damage. That's not really going to help you out here. That's probably one of the lower end talents in the game. Next up, we have Killer, right? So Killer is a great talent. However, things to know about me and these talents is that if there is a stipulation in place, if there is a prereq, you know, if there's something you have to do before it activates, in my opinion, it lowers the overall value of that talent. Meaning, Killer is only going to be activated if 1, you kill an enemy, and if 2, you kill an enemy with a crit hit. Those are two different variables that are just not really friendly in my opinion. Where Streamline, you get the damage instantly, and you don't have to do anything for it. It's just bada bing, bada boom, you plug and play. But Killer is really strong with, say, an SMG, right? Because SMGs would have max crit, or maybe you could put max crit on an AR, and you're more likely to crit hit, kill your enemy, and get Killer activated. But again, it's only for 7 seconds. It only gives you crit damage. I mean, there's too many things involved with that talent to where I still think Streamline might be the better option. But again, Killer is very strong with SMGs. Going down to Preservation, right? Preservation is really strong. It is really strong. Use that with a armor on kill build, and you are good to go. And whenever you get headshots, it's even better. I love me some Preservation. Highly recommend for your survivability builds. You could use that with like armor regeneration or like the Memento. There's so many things you could put together with Preservation. So what I do is I have Preservation on my shoddy, remember? So I forever have Preservation on my character. The reason for that is if I'm about to go down or die, or maybe I have an enemy that's about to die, I can whip out the shoddy, shoot him in the head, get that extra armor on kill, and then switch back to my primary weapon while I'm getting healed up, and then I'm right back into the fight. It's a really strong talent to use if you use it correctly, and it's all about survivability. But again, Streamline hits harder, so let's move on. Next up, we have Optimist. So here's the first player, and a lot of people way back in the day would swear up and down by Optimist because it was amazing, right? Well, let's try that one out. So our Streamline was hitting for 888k. Yeah, so right there, 888k. And that's without doing anything, right? But I can't use any skills. So if we were to compare that to, say, Optimist, that 888k might be higher than the entire Optimist talent put together. So let's try that out. So 888 to the chest. Let's see. And survey says, oop, 973. Did you see 973? Standby to the standby. But of course, that's with the health damage. Okay. Hold on a tick. So 973 on health. I did not factor that in. My 888 was just on armor. So let's redo that first initial test. So we have to shoot out the mag. There we go. 995. Okay. So 995 is the actual number with Streamline. Let me get it on the screen. There we go. Oh, and it shows up at 877. No, that's 995. Oh, come on, game. You're making me look bad. Just show it on the screen. Just show it on the screen. There we go. All right, there we go. 995 on the screen. Woo. It only took freaking forever. Okay, so Streamline, 995 on health. So that will be the number to beat. Okay. Going back to Optimist. So 995 is the number to beat right there. And with Optimist fully maxed out, We are hitting at 967. Try that again. 973. One more time. 967. Okay. So it's still, what, 20k less per bullet? And that's only at the bottom part of Optimist. Because if you look at Optimist, it only increases your weapon damage as you're losing ammo. So you have to keep shooting out, you know, your magazine to get that weapon damage, where Streamline, you get it right then and there, right? So Optimist compared to Streamline, no. No thank you. Now, the thing about Optimist, though, is you can use that with skills. So that might be a different, you know, variable to talk about, where Streamline, you can't use skills or anything. Optimist, obviously, you can. Next up, we have Strained. So Strained is more crit the longer you shoot your weapon, okay? A lot of people love them some Strained. Now, we're not changing the weapon or the build or anything at all, so let's try it out with Strained. The number to beat is 995, and look at that. We're well over a milli. We are well over a milli. You see that? 1,019,000. But that's only at the very bottom part of the magazine. Yeah. Woo! 1,019,000. Damn! But we're only hitting 310 as that bottom number. But still, that hits. Strained is a big player. Strained is definitely a big player. It's only going to be at the bottom part of that magazine, but still. I mean, you're hitting, what, another 20k harder than Streamline, and you don't have to worry about not using skills. Next up, we have Close and Personal, right? So Close and Personal, this one is only going to work if you're right up on top of your enemy. And let's see if we can get it to proc. Let's see, 14, 15. Yeah, we're not going to be able to get them to proc. Maybe if we just do named and test it that way. So again, the number to beat would be 995, but we saw that Strained hits over 1,019,000. Take out the named enemy. All right, and we're hitting at 855. Oh, hold on. Nope, that was 958. Put it on Invulnerable Elite. 958. Okay, so that hits 40k less. So Close and Personal is not even in the ballpark. That's not even... It's good for shotgun builds because you can get kills up close and personal. It's good for SMG builds. You can get up close and personal, but it's not even hitting anywhere near Strained or Streamline. And in fact, even Optimist hits harder than Close and Personal. So, let's keep it going down. Fast Hands, not a player at all. Reload speed is really not a big deal. Vindictive, getting crit based off of killing a status-affected enemy. I mean, that's more of like a support talent. That's not really something I would recommend. Sadist, yes. This is the hardest hitting normal talent for a status effect. 30% amp damage. 30. When you go down to the other ones, let's see here. Right here. Ignited, 25%. So you have Sadist, you have Eyeless, I think, and Thunderstrike. So all of those are 30%. So these are your harder hitting ones. However, Thunderstrike, based off of enemies shocked, not a big player. Unless you're going to run around with shock traps and just throw them at your feet, it's really not big. Ignited, it's only 25%, so you're losing 5% right there. And if you're going to use Ignited, you might as well use Perfectly Ignited with the Pyromaniac, and that's a different story for another day. Eyeless, it is 30%, but that's only to enemies that are blinded. So again, that's not really practical when playing this game. However, the best one is Sadist, because not only can you get enemies to bleed with trauma, just shooting them in the chest, but you can also use the Ridgeway's Pride chest piece and get them to bleed that way. Not only that, but you have the Stinger Hive, you have the artillery turret, you have the explosive seeker mine, you have the what else? What else? There's like several skills that apply a bleed. There's not a lot of skills that apply a blind. I mean, what? There's the blinder Firefly, right? There's not. I mean, you do have some that make burn, but burn is less, right? It's only 25% compared to the 30 with Sadist. And then again, with the Thunderstrike, you're not going to sit there and just keep throwing shock traps at your feet to get this, to proc. So, in my opinion, out of all of those, Sadist would be your best bet. And if you're nasty, you would use Perfect Sadist because that's even higher. And, I mean, come on, this is just free amplified damage. But remember, it's only as the enemy is bleeding. When they're not bleeding, you're not getting that damage. Just so you know. Going down, Steady-Handed's not a big player. Vindictive's not a big player. Ranger. Ranger is okay at best. It's okay. But it's only at range. The talent is Ranger after all. It amplifies your weapon damage based off of the range you are from that enemy. So this, in my opinion, would be rifle, marksman rifle, right? You want to keep your distance and get all your damage. But the thing about that is that we have Determined. And Determined headhunter builds are meta, no matter what. It doesn't matter what anyone says. In the Division 2, snipers and rifles with Determined headhunter, it's meta. You're one-shotting everything, no matter what. You shoot them in the toe, it's a one-shot. Ranger does not do that with all weapons. You could do that with some marksman rifles and some rifles, but with Determined headhunter, it's pretty much turning everything into a one-shot, one-hit a quitta. So Rangers, it's okay, but it's really not going to give you that damage that you want. And I'll just go ahead and show you really quick. We could do, we'll do 15 meters, right? Because I'm not going to shoot my AR crazy far away. So even at range here, we're hitting 882. See? 882. So that is way less. That's 100K less. Yeah, that's 100K less than Streamline. And that's over 120K less than Strained. So Ranger, in my opinion, don't do it. Don't do it, May. Don't do it. All right, so going down further, we have Spike. Headshot gives you, well, just headshots give you skill damage. This is not bad, but it's only 20%. So if you compare that to In Sync, right? In Sync, you get 30%. And that's shooting your weapon and your skills hitting them. With Spike, you're shooting enemies in the head. You have to shoot them in the head to get that. It's just not as practical. I'm all about the practicality of these talents and using them in the game. Spike is not going to be your best bet. Your best bet would be maybe Perfectly In Sync or In Sync, but in my opinion, just use the capacitor, because the capacitor gives you well over 45% damage, and you're getting the extra weapon damage. I mean, there's really no need for Spike. We have already talked about Eyeless and Ignited. Perpetuation headshots give you status damage and duration. This is not, it's not one of the best weapon talents. However, it's just a headshot, right? So if you just shoot an enemy in the head once, you get all of that extra buff for 20 seconds. It's really not bad. But again, if you're going to use something like that and shooting an enemy, you might miss their head. So you might not get that boost, where if you used In Sync or Perfectly In Sync, just shooting the enemy once anywhere on their body would give you that extra buff. So Perpetuation's not a player either. Reformation, headshots grant you skill repair. I mean, if you're a healer and you really need to do that, fine. I mean, it's not bad. It's 15 seconds. But again, you have to shoot enemies in the head. There's these, like, these stipulations that you're putting in place, and then all of a sudden you're like handicapping yourself where you could use other talents to get more out of it. I mean, I don't know. It's not bad. If you use this on a healer, let me know in the comments. I have never used it on a healer. It sounds good on paper, but I use different weapons to help out my team. Future Perfect, I do not use at all. This seems to be more like a solo, grinding PvE type of talent where you kill enemies and you get more skill tiers. It's not my cup of tea. I would rather use the Memento or something like that where I kill an enemy and get a stack of skill efficiency, and then get a better weapon talent. InSync is great. InSync is a great talent to use if you do not want to use the capacitor, or if you want to use a different exotic. InSync is really good for those skill builds, those run and gun skill builds, skill damage hybrid builds, whatever you want to call it. But InSync is good. However, remember that you have to hit them with your skill and your weapon within the same amount of time. All right, it's within what, 5 seconds or so. It is what it is. Now we're on to Flatline. So Flatline is free amplified damage. So let me show you. So Flatline, if you put it with the linked laser pointer right here, you can pulse the enemy and get 15% amplified damage for free. So let me show you. So we're going to do 5 meters, and we just pulsed them. Here we go. And we're hitting them for 993. That is the closest to Streamline for doing nothing. 993. That's only 2,000 off from Streamline. So Flatline is right up there for the best weapon talent, right along Streamline and Strained when it comes to these weapons, because this one is the easiest. All you're doing is aiming your weapon, it pulses them, and you get that damage. Not only that, but you can use skills, and it's forever, as long as the enemy is pulsed. So you don't have to keep shooting your weapon like Strained, and you don't have to not use skills like Streamline. So right off the bat, Flatline, in my opinion, is one of the best weapon talents to use in the game, as long as your weapon has a long underbarrel rail, because that is the attachment for the linked laser pointer. If you do not have this option, you won't be able to pulse them as easy. So, yeah, not bad. But you can use other things to pulse enemies, right? So you can use, let's see here. You can use your drone. So you have your tactician drone right here. You can scan and pulse your enemy. You can use your scanner pulse right here. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. I mean, there's multiple ways of doing that without the linked laser pointer, but Flatline is definitely a weapon talent worth using. Going down this list, Sledgehammer. Sledgehammer's okay in the perfect variant, and if you're going to do that, you're going to use a support build. Sledgehammer is not something I would ever use on my primary weapon as a DPS, or really, I really wouldn't use it unless it's a support build. Like a healer build, something like that, where not only am I healing my teammates, but I'm also giving them big buffs. And finishing with the last few here, Thunderstrike we already went over. Pressure Point, this one applies to all status effects, but it's only 15%. I would not use this when Sadist is double the amplified damage, and you can use plenty of things to make your enemy bleed. Pressure Point is kind of like that meh in between where you can use all skills and have it active, but it's not going to hit anywhere near as hard as Sadist. Streamline we already went over. It's one of the best talents in the game, but you can't use any skills and or have any skills on cooldown. Nearsighted is that's okay for like a beginner, where if you're trying to get used to like the stability of your weapon, you could use nearsighted to get used to it, I guess. But it's a waste in my opinion. And if you're going to use nearsighted, I would go for the named variant and go for the glory days and do it that way. On empty is not worth it. It gives you weapon handling. If you reload on empty, it's really not worth the squeeze. Measured is, it's not that good either. So it does give you the burst damage up front, but the 30% on the back end is not worth it. So let me show you. So the number to beat is what, 995? Strained has hit the hardest so far at 1,019,000. But here is measured. Starting at 700K. Oh! Oh, man. 1,071,000. Oh! Whoa! Yo! That's the hardest hitting we've seen so far. Woo! You see that? 1,071,000. Damn! I mean, but it's only for the back end, though. I really wouldn't recommend it. It's nice, but I wouldn't recommend it. Maybe I'll throw this out there and do like a measured build in the future. But I wouldn't. That and strained, it's only with the last few bullets, so it looks good on paper. But with putting this in actual practice, I still would go either Flatline or Streamline. But that's just me. Let me know what you think about measured. And we're getting near the bottom here. So now we have stabilize. This one, firing your weapon gives you accuracy and stability. You don't need that. Come on, let's be real. Overflowing every 3 reloads increases your base magazine. No, you don't need that either. Precision strike, killing enemies further than 20 gives you stacks, and then hitting them within 20. This one, way too much involved. It's not practical. Don't try this one either. It looks good on paper, but don't do it. There's way too much involved when you can easily just run and gun with Streamline or Flatline and take out everything in sight. So, our top 5 that I would say would be Flatline, Streamline, right? Sadist. And then the last 2, maybe measured and strained. Preservation is great for your survivability. Optimist isn't bad, but it's only the last few bullets. Close and personal is even worse. And then it just keeps going downhill from there. But for me and my Lexington, what I would probably do is either go Flatline or Streamline. And for the build I'm using right now, I'm going Streamline. But all right, let me know what you think in the comment sections below. I am Kamikazevondoom, and those are your best weapon talents to use and why. Now, yes, you do have other weapon talents to your other subcategories. So just to tell you, or to show you really quick, because I did mention it, but we were not using a sniper. So let me go ahead and show you. So determined right here. This one is the meta of all meta talents for snipers, rifles, and pistols. Telling you right now, behind you's not worth it. Lucky shot, first blood, naked, none of these are worth it. They're not. Determined is numero uno for rifles, marksman rifles, and pistols. It is the best one-shot talent for all of those. And then I believe there is an LMG, right? Let's see. Is there anything else worth mentioning? Unhinged. It's okay. Frenzy is okay. Frenzy is actually... That's actually a really good one. So Frenzy, you can only get on an LMG, though. You can get perfect Frenzy on that FAMAS, the Huntsman, but you can only have Frenzy on LMG. It is really strong, and I would actually highly recommend it on an LMG. Unhinged, not so much, but Frenzy, all day. You get the rate of fire and you get the weapon damage. Yeah, you're good to go there, for sure. And I want to say those are all of the extra talents and honorable mentions. But all right, that is it for me. Those are the best weapon talents to use in the game and why. I am Kamikazevondoom. Hit that like, subscribe, you know all the YouTube spiel. I hope you enjoyed the video and found it helpful or informative. But again, I'm Kamikazevondoom. Take care of yourself. Enjoy the rest of your day. And peace out.